everyone. Welcome back to the Connor and Joe show. Boy, here in southern Manitoba, and I think most of the prairies is getting the same thing we're getting. It is cold. So I had to rack my brain for wins this week, Connor, but I'm curious what yours are.
Yeah, I guess my win probably doing stuff that I haven't been doing very much of ever before. It is damn cold out right now, so spending some time doing some reading of some books, I guess, getting into reading more books. That's been a big win for me this week. I'm into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill right now, and it's been a really good read. About halfway through it, I think I've talked to lots of people that read it quite frequently. Just kind of pick it up. You can pick it up and just read a chapter. Doesn't have to be front to back, that's for sure. So that'd be a win for me right now. Just finding a half an hour here, hour there to put the phone on do not disturb and sit down and do some reading, and it's been really good.
Give us some summaries that you've pulled out so far.
Oh, I guess I'm through a couple chapters right now. I'm about halfway through the book, and probably the chapter of desire and just understanding that has been a really big one. I'll maybe pull one that I did take a picture of one quote that I really liked. I took a picture of it here, so I'll pull it up and read it. It was a good one. If you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought. It is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon an application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. And
I would agree with that.
highlighted that book with pen in the book, and I've read it a few times since reading it earlier this week, and it's just thinking about that a lot. I'm working through a lesson right now on the peer group that I'm in, and kind of structured around working harder isn't going to get you any further. And in the videos that we're listening to, he gave me an example of a fly trying to get through a window. No matter how hard that fly tries to fly through that window, he's never going to get through it. And it's like, you know what? That's a great analogy, just thinking about that. It's like sometimes it's the way you look at it, and it's not just how hard you're trying. And I think that resonates with, I know myself a ton on our farm and just in life. It's like sometimes you could be trying your darndest, but you're really not getting anywhere. So it's looking at it at a broader spectrum and really just understanding, hey, can I change the way I'm doing this? And maybe that'll help me get to where I'm wanting to go. For the fly, you could just go around to the other window that's open and fly out. But yeah.
That is a great analogy. Well, I'm trying to, one of my New Year's resolutions was read more. And that kind of came from Ranching for Profit, the recommended reading list. And I've started Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But the problem
cool.
is my book list is getting longer,
Oh.
faster than what I'm actually reading them. So I'm trying my best to chip away, but I think my win this week, well, we just came back, or I just got back yesterday from Ag Days in Brandon. It was an awesome time. I haven't got out as much since Charlie's been born. Excuse me. And it was just great to get out, meet some customers and chat some cover crops, but it's always like a giant university reunion and high school reunion, just a reunion of all the people that I've kind of met in my journey in agriculture in Manitoba anyway. So it was awesome to catch up with everyone. But I think the true win is our winter water systems that we put in this summer and the bale grazing that kind of allowed me to take off for 3 days and not worry about minus 50 temperatures at home with the wind chill. So Dad did have to start the tractor one day. We had to change our plans because the weather was not going to allow us to move cows home. Didn't think we could convince them to walk into a minus 50 wind. So he did set some bales out one afternoon to give them something to do. Thank God our 4430 started. But yeah, other than that, we've got hauled all of our calves out over the weekend. So now we're got feeding 500 cows on dry hay, which in our system, boy, it sure doesn't take a lot of time. And I'm pretty grateful for some of those decisions we made, especially on a week like this.
I was happy to sell calves this week too. Dad kept some of his, but yeah, I pretty much cleaned house on mine, and that was nice to get them gone before this miserable cold snap. And even the guy, I mean, it's miserable cold out, but you know those calves are going to go on to feed for whoever bought them, and it's kind of cold widespread across the prairies. So I think, I really enjoy weaning in January. For us, temperatures are usually a little bit more controlled, more or less just it's cold out. It's not cold and
Consistent.
warm.
Yeah.
yeah, calves have been on feed for a month and 2 months in some cases, and they seem to really transition super well. So
Yeah.
I was happy with how they were looking coming off, and I know that they'll go on to feed because we've backgrounded the last couple of years, and they've gone on to feed really well. So hopefully they do for those guys as well.
Yeah, we sold 70 heifers to my cousin Owen Taylor, who most people, well, became famous on this
Oh
very
yeah, he made an
podcast.
appearance on here. Were they Seminole heifers?
They were dinky little black Angus heifers. But I ended up just like the real dinks I sent to a buddy. He's feeding them for me. We just had a trailer load and then shipped some up to Killarney, kind of the in between what was a dink and what was we were selling as replacement heifers. But we had a pen of 7 steers. They were 390 pounds, go through just shy of $3,500 for what I would consider, well, what the industry would consider a dink. So
Yeah.
yeah, I chatted with quite a few people that sold calves last week, and I didn't meet many sad faces.
No,
So it's
I
a
was
fun
very
time to
happy.
be in the cattle industry. So, well, and to segue onto our guest this week, Connor. So, you sent me a video of Jim. Why don't you give Jim just a bit of an intro?
Yeah, so really excited to have Jim Jensen on today from Lucky 7 Angus. They're out of Wyoming, and I had was intrigued. I seen one of Jim's videos yesterday on Facebook, just talking about their 4-year bull guaranteed. So they're purebred Angus producers in Wyoming, and they have the only one in the nation in the U.S. They figure, and I don't think there's anyone in Canada. 4-year bull guarantee. So yeah, just really intrigued me, and super excited to have Jim was able to come on short notice today, and super excited to have him on.
Oh,
How
Yeah,
are you doing today?
good. How are you doing?
Really good.
doing
Appreciate
great.
you coming on. It's short notice, I know for sure, but we were scrambling, wanted to get one done today, so I thought, well, I might as well shoot my shot here and see if you're available.
All right. Well, you guys picked me. I didn't pick you. So if it goes bad, it's not my fault, right? All right.
Fortunately, we've set a precedent. We've had the odd one go really bad. So, yeah, if you fall somewhere in the middle, it'll be great.
Okay. Well, the seed stock producer's probably never gonna like me because I'm really, really upsetting to their gig. But other than that, it should be good.
They don't like us either, so you're in good
Really?
company here.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why you chose. I was wondering why you chose me, but that's all good.
Well,
Yeah.
our concept is with our social media stuff is farming's not profitable what we're doing. So we bring on people that are outside the box thinkers, doing different practices and challenging the status quo. So
Oh,
yeah, Connor sent me that video and I thought, oh man, he's perfect.
I'm your guy. I'm your guy. We're trying, and I got a new media team that's trying to help me out, and that's where he started doing this, and that's what ours is going to be. Is you can wear the hat, but that doesn't make you a cowboy because there's so many gigs in life right now that are just stealing money from the agriculture people, and it pisses me off. That's what I do. Is I try and fight that. My whole entire life, I fought it.
Well, yeah, if you go back and look at our content, you won't see many industry people, you won't see many university people, you won't see much for research. I it's part of a system that's not working.
Oh
So
yeah,
what
it's
we
set
want to
up
do,
against the ranchers and farmers. It really is,
yeah,
and that's the guys that feed America. Why would we fight them?
well, and they're the true researchers because they're the ones that are actually implementing it on the farm, you know?
Oh yeah.
So it's like yeah, to a 5-year replicated study on a 6 by 12 plot. We're gonna make massive financial decisions and directions on the ranch based on that. I'm like, no, I want to hear it from a producer that's doing it. What do you wish you did better, and what are you hoping to change?
Well, not only that, but those studies are already bought and paid for. The answer and the conclusion was paid for before they even did the study. It's just a way to funnel money into the college and get a research paper right. I mean, I've been
It,
in that situation. They said you give them $50,000 and this is what you'll get.
yeah, they'll find whatever you want them to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My alma mater, the University of Manitoba here, they started just as I was graduating, they started a smart park. And every single building in this smart park, it's the Bayer facility for yada yada, or the Monsanto building of knowledge, or DuPont's research station. And I'm like, this is what we're calling smart? Just giving all of our money to the biggest corporations on planet Earth?
Exactly.
No.
Yep.
Well, I guess
Well,
I had mentioned Jim on that message there, just kind of how we structure this. So Travis does a really good job of editing here. And what we've been kind of doing is bring a producer on that's got a hot button topic in agriculture. And that we don't know. I probably have a rough idea what yours is going to be, but just kind of a statement on what you think is happening, and then kind of have a chance to discuss that statement a little bit yourself, and then it'll turn it over. Joe and I can chime in kind of, and we'll see where the conversation goes from there. So we structure it for kind of 20 to 30 minutes, and then just see where the conversation goes. So that's our biggest goal, is just to kind of have a chat about. I mean, last week we had a guy on talking about fertilizer, and I know couple weeks ago we were tile drainage, and we had one guy, the first initial one we did was saying that Simmental cattle don't belong in the maternal herd in Canada. He's a Soul Angus guy, and so it's kind of been discussions based like that, just whatever you're passionate about really at the end of the day, and what you truly believe in, and bring that as a statement, and then we'll have a discussion on it.
Okay. So I think what you guys was discussing, you wanted to discuss this 4-year guarantee.
That was really intriguing to me, and
so
I
the reason we have the 4-year guarantee is discuss the problem.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly, yeah.
And so I'll open it up with one of the biggest problems that we have in the industry, and then you guys can get into the 4-year guarantee, and that'd be perfect for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
For sure.
you betcha. And Connor and I just kind of take the perspective of, I mean, we're both cattle producers up here in Canada. We just ask questions kind of in mind the people that are going to be watching it, which are primary cattle producers, essentially. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jim Jensen, for coming on. Looking forward to hear your hot button topic. Take it away, Jim.
I think the biggest problem in the industry, or one of the biggest problems in the industry, are bulls that are overfed. Bulls that are produced and raised on grain that are falling apart. And the cost per calf that you have, because those bulls fall apart, their feet fall apart, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's one of the biggest costs in a livestock operation right now.
So, Jim, it's a huge cost that I think most producers do not realize, which is bull depreciation and cost per calf on that depreciation. The difference you're buying a bull for, what you're selling them for, and then how many cows he breeds in between. So that was one of the things that I thought you did a really good job driving home in that video. Can you just talk a little bit more about bull depreciation and how many cows the average bull is breeding?
Well, typically a bull should breed 150 cows in a lifetime if you raise them right. I mean, that's the goal. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. In the world that we live in right now, they figure 4 cows or 4 bulls per 100 or 1 bull per every 25 cows, and they should last 4 years. So you should get 100 calves in today's world, which I think that's a way too low number. But in reality, because the new breed is created to be corn-fed bred, and the fatter they get them, the prettier they make them, the more they're selling them for. So they're selling these $18,000 to $20,000 bulls in the United States. Some of them won't even pass a fertility exam because they've got too much fat in their nuts, and they will never be fertile. So you won't get one single calf out of that bull. And the average in the United States on the typical fat pretty bull is 25 to 35 calves. And that's not in a year, that's in a lifetime. So how much do you have into that calf? You might have $500 to $750 into that calf before he sucks a tit. And then they promise you a 5-cent premium, which they don't give you because we outsell them at the sale board every time. So they're going to give you $25 so you can lose 500 to 750. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing. And it's all about fat and pretty instead of scientific and making a bull right. I mean, I just looked to go ahead.
Well, maybe just making a bull right. Just talk a little bit about, in your system, what does that entail?
So we started the whole entire program by putting cattle in the real world conditions. I was burned when I was 14 years of age. I'm buying a fat, pretty bull, and it ruined my cow herd. It broke me basically at 14 years of age. So I got a bad temper over this whole deal, you know. But anyway, we decided to make our cattle in real world conditions. And so when we sell a bull, we put them in real world conditions. We make sure that those bulls have ample room to walk, move, good, strong feet and legs, and then you don't overfeed them. And not only that, but you concentrate on the feet and leg structure. All of those things are extremely important to getting cows bred up. And if you don't start with that, you don't have anything. But you can't overfeed them. Every time you overfeed one, you're just making less calves.
So what does you're marketing bulls at 2 years old, or what does the feed program for your bull development look like?
So we market a lot of our bulls at 2 years of age. We have some fall bulls and some yearling bulls. We will never ever go like right now, and I don't know if your customers are going to understand this, but we'll never go over a 41 NEG on our 2-year-old bulls, which that's not that much higher than just a solid roughage ration, solid hay ration. And we'll go up to, or sorry, did I say? I said it was 41, and then we'll go up to a 45 on our yearling
41 net
bulls.
energy gain
Yeah, and we'll
on their ration.
yeah, and we'll go up to a 45 net energy gain when they're yearling bulls. But we'll never ever go past that because that's just too high. Once you get into a 54, you're into a fat ration going into a feedlot. Most bulls in today's world are produced on a 51 to a 53. So they're ready to go to a fat. They're ready to get slaughtered. Not only that, but if you look at their IMF scores and their back fat, they're pretty much the same as what they would be if you slaughtered them. They're 0.35 plus on back fat, and that's slaughterable. That's ready to kill. That's ready to eat. I mean, it's kind of like the.
So I guess
Go ahead.
my question, and it stemmed from the video that I seen from you, Jim, on your 4-year bull guarantee that really, really intrigued me because there's lots of producers that raise bulls differently across the prairies. I know here, and it'd be the same in your neck of the woods, but I have never seen anyone with a 4-year guarantee on a bull. And I guess what are kind of things that you're looking at? Like what guarantees that bull? Is it just breeding soundness, or where are you at in a new ability for that animal to ensure that he's able to go out and breed for 4 breeding season for those producers? What does that entail on your end?
Well, basically, the 4-year guarantee entails basically anything that doesn't make him a potential breeder. So if he becomes a non-potential breeder, you get it. Except for the fact if, the person that owns him does something wrong, like runs him over with a pickup or something, of course we wouldn't cover that. But it covers everything. And I guess when we started thinking about the 4-year guarantee, what gave me confidence is because we don't overfeed our cattle. We don't clip them. We don't give them haircuts. They don't get toe trim. They sell in their working clothes just like you'd have them at your place. And so what intrigued me and gave me confidence to come up with the 4-year guarantee is we had one producer, he had 60 bulls. At the end of 4 years, he had 29 of our bulls left. And from the other bulls that he only had one. So he had 30 bulls left out of 4 years, and one of them was theirs and 29 were mine. So I was pretty sure that we could put this 4-year guarantee together. And the reason that I really wanted to do the 4-year guarantee was because I knew we were going into a stage where we were ruining these bulls and we were hurting the customers because they weren't getting enough calves out of them. They were breaking down. The feet were getting bad. Everything's going haywire in this whole entire deal. And I thought if I got a 4-year guarantee, it would be so powerful that every single bull breeder in the world would have to have that 4-year guarantee. And then they would have to stop raising them on corn stalks or not corn stalks in corn and in feedlots. They'd have to do it right. So the bulls would go out there and work for the customers. What I guessed wrong was 15 years ago, I'm still the only one doing it. And I've heard several times they've said, there's no way we could do it. It would break us. Well, it's like, I get that, but it's right for the customer still.
Yeah. What percentage of customers are you finding like on the how many bulls do you see back? If you sell 100 bulls and they got a 4-year guarantee, how many are you replacing?
Well, and this number is pretty crazy, but so we sell about 400 bulls a year. So if you think about it, we have 1,600 bulls out there. And when I go to my sale, I'm going to put it somewhere in the 20 to 25 ratio, whereas the rest
20 to 25% or 25 total?
total.
Wow.
And if you put that in perspective, gardeners in their ad will figure 25% the first year.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
So how long have you been doing this? And well, I mean, I guess first and foremost, how have you been doing it? And have you seen responses from your customers as far as when they go to the sale? I mean, I'm going to pay a lot more money for your bull with a 4-year guarantee than some random bull that, you know, doesn't, and I'm not sure, a yearling bull, and I'm not sure what the feed program was.
Well, especially today, you got $15,000 bulls. I mean, the average in the United States was $11,235 last fall. So you got a lot of money in that bull. So this is huge in today's world. But the responses we're seeing are mixed. I really don't know that it actually gives us a benefit in the marketplace, but our customers are extremely excited about it. I mean, they love it. And understand, I don't know that you could do this if we didn't have the best customers in the world. The real ranchers, salt of the earth American ranchers that's what they do, and they're really good to deal with. If you had those guys who are always trying to steal from you, and we had to one time, we had one guy that tried to do that, and we basically outlawed him from our sale. We kicked him out of our sale and made him leave because he was just stealing from us. But we have the best customers in the world, and that's one reason that we can do it. But they love it. It gives them confidence.
I
I
Go
s-
ahead, Connor.
seen a couple other clips from watching some of your videos last night, Jim, and obviously feed efficiency is something that you guys are pushing quite heavily on your operation. And I guess like it goes back to the at the end of the day, it starts with your cows that you're using on your operation. Those two things, I guess, what were changes that you had to make in the operation to push forward this 4-year bull guarantee using feed efficiency as well as kind of how are you running your cows to develop these bulls at the end of the day that can go out and work for ranchers across your area?
Well, when I started, like I said, I got burned really bad when I was a child. And not only that, give you a little history of the ranch. We started in 1895, and we live in the coldest place in the United States, Boulder, Wyoming, above 7,200 feet, and a really tough place to make a living. So I couldn't have the typical glass bubble animal. So day one, I said when I got into this industry, I would try and raise them tougher than everybody in my neighborhood because that's what I felt I had to do. Instead of being like the typical seed stock producer and putting them in a glass bubble, I had to run them tougher than everybody else. So that's just what I did. After I was into that for about 10 years, I had one of my customers come to me and he said, I used to run 1,200 head of cows. He said, I can run 1,800 on the same ranch right now. He said, I used to start my tractor to start feeding in December and now I'm feeding in February. He said, it's a total game changer. That's when I understood by me limiting the ration on these cows and putting them in real world conditions, I'd already created feed efficiency. So that was the time that we ended up buying the feed efficiency test system. We were the first person in the United States to individually own a feed efficiency test system because we knew the value at that point. But going into the question of how does that go into the 4-year guarantee, it's all related. If you put the cattle in the real world and you stress them and you push them, then they're going to be more hardy. They're going to last longer. They're going to live longer. They're going to be healthier, everything about it. And so everything we've done put us in a position where we were able to do the 4-year guarantee. Once we got the 4-year guarantee in place, then that made us actually become better because now we have some skin in the game too. And so now we created feedlot pens. We don't have feedlots. I mean, I was looking at Lee Leachman's deal, and it's a feedlot. It's a world-class bull test facility, and all it is a feedlot. If you come to my place, you're going to see 80-acre pens. They got to travel back and forth across a hill and some rocky terrain just to go back and forth to water. In the summer, these bulls they're in 1,000-acre or thousands of acre places. I mean, they have to be in real world to go out to be in real world at your place and not fall apart.
So, Jim, well, I got two questions here. What is that, like you putting pressure on your system like that? What does your cow herd look like today, both like in size and conformation? And like, what is the average bull of yours, mature bull, grossing as far as weight?
So putting all the pressure on there, we didn't know where we were headed with the feed efficiency and everything else because there's an outside chance you're going to get a bunch of, some of the toughest animals in the world are rodeo bulls. So are you going to have a bunch of these skinny, nasty orangutans?
Right.
That didn't happen. But as you're leading an industry and nobody's ever been in that industry, you don't know if you're going to find greener pastures or if you're going to go off the end of the cliff when you get to the end of that hill. But what we found is the cattle can look just exactly like everybody else's cattle. Our cattle are medium frame. Small frame cattle can't be feed efficient. We know that. Large frame cattle can be feed efficient, but they can't go out on the ranch and breed up and stay out there. So the only ones you can have are middle frame cows. Everybody says, what's your frame size? And they says, it's just right. Too small doesn't work and too big doesn't work. So we're right in the middle. Cattle are probably going to weigh, depending on their flesh, they're going to weigh 1,250 pounds. They'll be right in the middle. They can go to the feedlot and they can dominate, and they can go to the packing house and have a steak and everything that fits the consumer. So we have to keep those things in mind as we're going forward. So these cattle look exactly like everybody else's. They just have a different motor in them.
Yeah.
Very
What
cool.
what what's the winter forage like? What's your winter forage program look like where you guys are at? What's available for winter feed?
Well, typically our summer operation is where I was born and raised. Right now it would be 40 below and we'd have 3 foot of snow. And right now we would just start feeding our cows. Today we moved them over here to our summer operation, which is still bitter cold and nasty. You know, we wasn't smart enough to be snowbirds and go south. We just went east. And so it still can be cold. Matter of fact, I was just looking at my calendar. It was almost 3 years ago. It was the heat of the day for 7 days was 24 below 100% humidity in my winter place, the nice place. But it can be extremely cold. But right now, we still have cows on grass. We're not going to feed our cows for another 30 days. To put it in perspective, the people from our winter property start feeding their cows the 1st of December, put 3.5 ton of feed into them a winter. We now are putting about 1,500 pounds into a cow through the winter.
Yeah, I wish that was our system. Connor, you got any other questions? Just before I was just typing in my I had my calculator here. I wanted to talk a little bit about bull depreciation.
Yeah, no, I guess maybe just alluding to that on your 1,500 pounds of feed for a winter, I've done quite a deep dive into just understanding supplementation quite a bit better, and understanding where to use it. We try and graze as long as possible and utilize stockpiled forages in the spring on our operation, and just seeing the value of adding some protein to allow them to go out there and consume that high roughage diet that we're wanting to. In that 1,500 pounds that you're taking out to a cow in a winter, how much of it is their full ration, or how much of it is just based on giving them a little bit so that they can consume and make use of what the available forage is out there on a grazing system?
You know, we're not really set up to do much of a supplementation program. Just doesn't really fit us very well. So we keep them out on grass pretty much, and then when we bring them in, we feed them. But understand, to become scientifically proven in everything that we do, we have vertical mixers. We feed a balanced ration and a vertical mixer every time, so we know exactly every pound they have. And that was important because, number one, it's the best way you can feed a cow to make sure it's balanced. You know what she's getting. Number two, we can actually look at the data from what they used to eat to what they're eating today, and we know that they become more feed efficient. You know, and in typical right now, we can feed a 35 to 36 net energy gain ration at the rate of less than 2%. Matter of fact, our cattle right now are eating 16 pounds. They're weighing 1,100 pounds. That's the heifers, younger cows. They're getting 16 pounds of that ration, which the industry standard right now would be somewhere between 24 and 28. And they're gaining weight. They look extremely well, or they look extremely good.
Jim, what ration do you recommend for mature bulls in the wintertime? I mean, I guess for your customers. I was going to say for your customers or any bulls, but your bulls are probably being overwintered on different quality rations than maybe a conventional system.
You know, on a typical bull, the thing that I believe in the industry that we've got wrong, and back in the day when I was a kid, you always fed the bulls the worst because they don't have to start breeding until sometime in June or whatever. They should get their flesh back. But if you get that bull skinny in the middle of the winter and it gets cold, which bull do you think is going to freeze his nuts? The one that's skinny or the one that's not skinny? So I recommend keeping them in decent shape. I mean, that's one of the biggest investments you have on your ranch. You need to keep that bull to where he can breed for I want a bull to breed for 9 years. That's my goal. But if you got that bull to where you freeze his nuts or whatever, you got problems. Keep him in decent shape. I don't know what that is. Everybody's climate and everybody's conditions are different and their feeds are different, but you want to keep him in decent rig. Don't ever get that bull skinny. That's your factory. And he may or may not be able to get through those troubled times and still be fertile and be able to breed cows. So always keep him in decent rig. I had one customer, he basically told me that he quit buying my bulls. He said, because I fed him all the hay he could eat and they got too fat.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, your bias is you've been focusing on forage and efficiency. When we started making the switch, I was at a presentation. It was actually in the States, and Bert Tyker was there, and we got chatting about a number of things, but bulls came up, and I mentioned that I had a bullpen in the yard, and I spend as much time keeping water and feed in front of those bulls as I do, our 250 cows that we had at the time. And he said, well. And I mentioned, I'm like, I got kind of a variety of bulls. We're buying from forage-based genetics, and then, I'm buying from some friends and some conventional systems. And he said, your cows are just eating hay? I said, yep. He said, that cow needs to breed, have a calf, raise a calf, and get rebred. If you're in your bullpen, you're giving them anything extra than what you're giving those cows. He said, those bulls don't belong in your herd. And when we switched that upcoming year to just hay, a child that knew nothing about cows could walk into that pen and pick out which bulls came from a forage-based, feed efficiency, slow growth background, and which ones came from a corn ration. It wasn't hard to pick.
Well, and so the one thing that people don't understand is in the microflora in a gut, you have two different digesters. You have the ones that are digesters of forage, and you have the ones that are digesters of grain. So what you're seeing is just part of the problem. So you have got these bulls that you found out that were created to eat grain, and now they're not going back. That wasn't just the bull. The genetic base in today's world is created to be a grain digester. They're not created to go back there. So if you breed those same bulls long enough to your cows, you're going to create your cows that can't do it as well, because they're created to build micro for grain, not microflora for forage. And that's a huge problem right now. And that's, we've got the highest beef prices that we've had. And the reason is because we've got a shortage of cattle. In our region, our customers increased their cows by 15%, whereas the rest of the world decreased by 25%. Doesn't make sense that that was just a drought related deal. I see wrecks where they can't get them bred up. Well, if you had these cattle that can't go out there and do their job on forage, wouldn't it make sense that they now can't get bred up? It was never the drought. It was they just couldn't handle average conditions because they were created. I mean, you look at all of the bull breeders. They run feedlots, they feed, and they're creating genetics that are to go to a feedlot and become successful, not to go to the rancher and do their job.
So, Jim, I want to touch on, you opened with this point, but I'm a numbers guy and I try and harp on the producers that we work with, friends. And Connor and I are just pretty involved in the cattle industry up here in Western Canada. So you said, we'll just use American dollars. You said the average bull last year sold for $11,000.
Yeah, 11,265, I think.
So what's the salvage value on that, on a, what's it called, bull worth? Ballpark?
I would suggest if you're selling an $1,800 bull, I would guess he's going to be worth somewhere between $3,500 and $4,000 in today's world.
So we'll use $3,750. So that's $7,250 of depreciation. Now let's use the high end of the number of cows that bull is going to breed, which I think you said was 35.
Right.
So divided by 35, that's over $200 a calf in bull depreciation. And how many producers do you talk to that's a cost that they put on their budget expense line, and that doesn't include winter forage or pasture for that bull. Like, it's a real cost. And something that I do get frustrated with. I mean, our local government, they do a really good job of promoting cattle budgets and whatnot. They've got their breeding fees at $50 or $57, something like that. And the real number is something closer to $250. And I mean, these are American dollars.
Oh,
so,
easy.
I mean, that's over 300 in Canadian if you're watching.
Yeah,
and not on depreciation. And no feed, no nothing else.
Exactly. That's before overhead. It sucks a tit. That's nothing else. And you've got the people that are leading the industry. They're promising this 5 cent a pound premium, or that they're going to buy your calves. How can they ever make that up? They're going to give you maybe a nickel premium. Like I said earlier, they're not giving it, but they say they will. So that's $25 to $30 they're going to give you back for that 200 to 300, and then take it a step further and go to 44 farms, and now you can't even put an implant in them. So you got to lose another $180 before you can even hit the ground too. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I think your business model's safe, because I just punched in those exact same numbers, assuming that your bulls are your salvage value on your bulls is the same, and your sell price is the same if you're averaging 11,000. If you guarantee 4 years and 25 cows per bull, that's $72 in depreciation, which is funny. It's still higher than what most cattle producers, at least in Western Canada, are punching in for bull depreciation, which most times it's zero. But yeah, that's what 30%, 25% of what a conventional bull is.
Yeah, and they can get the same product, and that's without that bull never breeds a cow. I mean, there's some of these people that are selling bulls, and I'm not going to name who they are, but they're selling them without a fertility test because they're not fertile when they sell them because they're so fat. And so it's like, you're not even going to get a calf out of that bull.
I got one last question for you, Connor. If you got anything to wrap up, feel free to. Something that there's some tension between the vet that's coming out and doing the semen testing at our place and some of our bull providers, which is testicle size. The bull providers say that all of the standards that are set up for testicle size are all in conventional programs and that it needs to be readjusted. I'm just curious your thoughts on that. Bulls getting failed due to testicle size.
You know, you take inbar emulation EXT back in the day, he had some of the smallest testicles in the world, and he bred more cows than anything in the world. So I don't know that testicle size is something that we need to concentrate on so much. Not only that, but the worst bull that I ever bought, the biggest problem bull I ever had like a 46 testicles when he was born. So you got a factory that is too big for the employment inside of it versus a factory that was very efficient in this small nutted bull. That's a variable deal. As we were mentioned earlier, the universities and everybody are talking, they have their standards in their own mind, and then they sell that to the public, and everybody has their way of looking at it. My way of looking at it is I would say that you should have ample scrotal size, but if you get too big a scrotal, that's probably as big or worse problem than too small a scrotal. Like I said, some of the greatest bulls in the industry had very, very small scrotals, and they were just fine. So I think everybody has to kind of feel that one out. I'm not scared of using a bull a little bit on the smaller side. We don't have that problem in our herd. They do really well, but I think that that's an overrated situation there.
Yeah, we actually had that exact thing happen this past year. I bought a yearling bull from a neighbor a couple years ago, smaller scrotal, but he's bred like a freight train here. Like every year,
Hmm.
doesn't miss, breeds up really, really well. And once again, last spring, he's a few years old now. Last spring, when we were semen testing, our bull with the largest scrotal failed his test, and that small
Hmm.
nutted bull passed with flying colors once again and covered cows. He's a different color than the rest of the bulls, so I know who he sires.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, Jim, we've taken up enough of your time. I'm sure you got to go brave the cold just like Connor and I. So thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for doing what you're doing, because absolutely the producers out there need to get educated by real world stuff. They're getting way too much stuff that's not doing them any good, and they're losing a lot of money. And I appreciate what you're doing to help these people that exact way.
Amen. Well, thanks a lot, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Take care.